Hello! This video I will explain and show you how to start row 2 in a crochet project that begins with a chain. So last time we ended with a chain of 10. I added some more chains, and so now I have a chain of 20. With your chain of 20, I want to start by showing you how to do the next row with the single crochet stitch. When following a pattern, it'll often start with a certain number of chains, and then it will tell you another number to chain depending on the stitch used in the next row. And this can be kind of confusing at first, but it's separated in order to let you know that these next few chains are being used to bring you to the height of the next row, not to add length to the chain that you have. It helps keep the edges of your project square instead of kind of slanted. And as I want the next row to be single crochets, I'm going to chain 1 and then turn. At this point, turn doesn't mean much, but it will make more sense when we get to row 3. So I chained 1, and to do a single crochet, you'll insert your hook in the last stitch of row 1. This will be 2 stitches from your hook. So 1, the stitch that you just did to turn, and 2. And when you insert your hook, the most common way to do it is to have 2 strands on the top of your hook and just 1 strand below your hook. Hopefully this is focused. I can't really see it on my screen right now. So after you insert your hook, and I'm going to adjust it a little bit because it caught some of the lower strand. After you insert your hook, you're going to go ahead and yarn over and pull it through the stitch of your chain. Now you'll have 2 loops on your hook. So you're gonna kind of move your chain out of the way, and you're gonna yarn over again and then pull through both loops on your hook. And that is a single crochet. So let's go ahead and try that again. So first thing we're gonna do is find the next stitch, and it's gonna have a little V shape. So you're gonna insert your hook into there, and you'll be able to see the 2 strands on top, 1 strand on the bottom. And this is just one way of inserting your hook. There are other ways, but this will be the most commonly used. And so if nothing is said about how or where to, well, if nothing is said about how to insert your hook, default to this one. So after inserting your hook, you yarn over, pull through that stitch on your length of chain. You have 2 loops, yarn over again, and pull through both of them. So now you have 2 single crochets, and we're going to continue to do this. It's good even if you aren't able to do a project right away. It's good just to practice the different stitches that you learn, and then when you start a project, it'll be a little bit easier to follow what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead and insert hook again. It'll have 2 loops on one side, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both loops, insert, insert hook. Hopefully you can see it. and I'm going to try and make it so that I'll edit it so that it'll be easy to see. Yarn over, pull through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both, and insert hook, yarn over. Well, yeah, I guess you can do like that if that's easier. Through. I guess it all depends on the placement of your hands and what the stitches that you're working into are like. So again, this yarn I should get a better yarn to work with for the video, but I thought this one would be easier to see. So insert hook, there's the little loopy shape, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both loops, and just continue to do this all the way to the end. So insert your hook. Oh, I think yeah. And try, maybe you can see this. But hopefully you should be able to see, where your last stitch was located, I guess. Located is the word. And so the next stitch should be in between, so past this one. You don't want to insert there, but underneath that one, you can kind of see this one will kind of poof out here. So underneath there, and then yarn over, pull it through there, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through both loops, make sure you don't get caught on the yarn. Sometimes when you're crocheting, as you add stitches, it'll pull them out and they'll look a little wonky, but you don't have to worry about this stitch looking too stretched out, because the way that crochet works, as you work into the following stitches, it tends to even itself out, as you can see it already did on this section over here. See, that's what I mean. It gets a little bit stretched out. Don't worry about it. See how the last one was like tightened up there, and now it looks more even? That's exactly what will happen to this one. So insert hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Was that the same one? That was the same one. See, you got to be careful about that. That's how you accidentally make a triangle, by adding more stitches instead of the same amount of stitches all the way across as what you started with. And that's where counting comes in. You want to make sure that, if possible, you keep a good count of the amount of stitches that you're doing. And this is kind of what I meant by constantly adjusting. And no, I'm not currently keeping count of the stitches, but I can go back and count them to make sure that I am not adding or accidentally subtracting stitches, because that is what is important when you want to have a nice square edge. So let's count how many stitches I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then I should have 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. So I am on track. You may have noticed this, but when I can't get the very tip of the crochet hook into the stitch, when I can't get the top into it, I will use the tip down here to sort of leverage it open. So I end up kind of like stabbing it in and then turning it around, and then I kind of have to fiddle with it to make sure that I have both parts that are supposed to be over the hook. There. Yarn over, pull through, and that should be 17. And let me check. I don't know if you guys can see this, but if you look closely, this is, I think, where a lot of people tend to have a problem. If you look closely, these two stitches, which I think are 16 and 17, are in the same chain, and so I have extra over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and redo that. See how that is? Yeah. Starting the first few rows can be a little bit more difficult, especially because your yarn tends to want to go around and behind and over everywhere, and you have to make sure that you aren't accidentally like mummifying your chain there. So it's totally cool if you just go slow at first. And the very last stitch seems to be very close together. I don't know if you can see that. But it almost just looks like a knot back here instead of a stitch. But I am going to try and, like I said, leverage it open with this point of the hook and kind of shift the yarn so that it's tighter for the other stitches down the row and a little bit more loose for stitch number 20. And like I said, don't know if you can see that, but it's a little bit loose, a little bit more loose. So I should be able to get my needle through. I do apologize if I go back and forth between calling this a crochet hook or a crochet needle, because it can be referred to as either, and it's not. It's correct either way, so it's not really a problem, but it can be confusing, so I apologize. So yeah, insert and yarn over and pull through, and then pull through both loops on your hook. So there we go. There is our second row done. Once it focuses, yes, there is our second row done. And just to be able to show you what they mean when they say to turn, I'm gonna go ahead and do row number 3 as single crochets as well. So just like we started the second row with, we're gonna chain 1, and so you just yarn over and pull through, and then we're going to turn, and this is where turning actually happens. So you're gonna flip it over, flip sides like that. You can turn and then chain 1, or you can chain 1 and then turn. It doesn't matter which way you do it. And here's where it becomes a little easier to insert your hook, because it can be a little bit more confusing when you're putting stitches into a chain. But once you get like the real body of your work going, other stitches will be more obvious of where you put your hook. So I've chained 1, and I'm going to insert my hook, and just like before, it should have that little V shape of a stitch that you will see on one side of your hook. And then we yarn over, pull through the stitch, should have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through both of them. Same thing with the next one. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And then you can sort of see that crochet stitch coming alive. You can see the little holes in there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish this row real quick. There seems to be a sweet spot of the amount of the project that you have. If it's too much, it's hard to have a handle on, and if it's too little, it's also hard to hold, so that can be a little bit frustrating at times. That's, yeah, part of the reason why I keep adjusting. And last stitch, insert hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And I totally did not count this, so I'm going to count it and see if I managed to only do 20. Might be useful to count, at least at first, and if you're doing a complicated pattern, definitely keep count. But you can also put in little stitch markers. They sell them, but you can also use, like I said, bobby pins and stuff. Just like you would put at the end to say, like, this is 10, that's 10. Or it depends on how many stitches you're doing. I like to put in 10s or 20s to keep count of where things are. Now, for the other stitch that I wanted to show today, it's fairly simple, and it's similar to the single crochet stitch. But when we turn to do the stitch, we are not going to do any chains. We're just going to start straight with the first stitch, because this stitch is used mostly for joining like 2 sides together, or for traveling across the body of your crochet project without adding a lot of space, like adding a lot of extra area to it. And so it just hugs right along the line of what you are stitching to, and it's called a slip stitch. And it's very common to use just a few in a row. It's not very likely that you're going to have an entire row of them, but it is good to practice them, which is why I kind of wanted to show an entire row of them. So as you can see, turning kind of makes sense now. You're turning the fabric so that you can start going along the edge again, back along the edge, and then as you can see, the little areas in which you insert your hook are a bit more obvious, so that's nice too. So for your slip stitch, you're going to insert your hook just like you would for a single crochet, and you're going to yarn over, and here's where the difference is. Instead of just pulling through this first stitch, you're going to pull through the stitch and the loop on your hook. So you're going to yarn over and pull through both of them. So let's try that again. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through your stitch and your loop. Insert hook, yarn over, pull through stitch, pull through loop. Insert, yarn over, and pull through both. Insert, yarn over, pull through both. Insert, yarn over, pull through both. So, why is that always so long? So it does make a slight difference. You can see a little bit of a height difference there. Let's see if I bring it up closer to the camera. You should be able to see, in your own work especially, you should be able to see a slight step in where your slip stitches are and where they're not. But for the most part, it hugs real tight to whatever line that you're stitching across, and so it is not an invisible stitch, but it's pretty close to it. So that's pretty nice. So just for practice, I would totally recommend going ahead and finishing doing slip stitches all the way back. And then what some other good practice would be to chain 1 and do row 4 by doing some single crochet. And you can, yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and we're gonna go ahead and put the stitches in the, not the row of slip stitches, but the row underneath it, which was also single crochet. So those holes that you can see a little bit better. And then this will give you some practice in also like pulling enough of the yarn up to kind of have a little bit more extra space, which can be useful in some patterns. Insert yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Insert yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Yeah, I would say go ahead and do some more practice with single crochet, and next time I will show you some, I'll show you double crochet and a little bit about stitch placement, and I think you'll find that interesting. Anyways, good job, be proud of yourself, and I'll see you next time. Bye.